Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are around the world. Welcome to today's Postgrad webinar service. Today brought to you by Heriot-Watt University, specifically how to become an actuary. Now, this is extremely popular. We've had two or three of these sessions before, and they're always extremely engaging. Loads of questions, loads of people from all over the world asking questions. So please feel free to say hi in the chat. Feel free to explain where you're from, where you're watching from today. If you have any questions or any issues whatsoever, please pop them in the Q&A. It's important that they do go into the Q&A box at the top or bottom of your screen. We will make sure we get through to it at the Q&A session towards the end of the session. So please do make sure you do that. This session is live. Today's date is the 16th of April. If you do hear anything date sensitive, whether it be from ourselves or from Heriot-Watt, please factor that in as things are subject to change, of course. But most of the things you will hear today will be mostly accurate. But for now, I'd like to hand you over to Fraser Daly. He's one of the professors at Heriot-Watt, specifically within this program. He'll be taking you through the next 40 minutes along with some guest appearances from Abhishek and Alina. So here we go. Fraser, over to you.
Thank you very much, Gareth. Good to be with everyone this morning. Welcome to from me to wherever you are. It's nice and early in the morning here, but good afternoon, good evening if you're in a different time zone. So as Gareth said, my name is Fraser Daly. I'm an associate professor here in the Department of Actuarial Mathematics and Statistics at Heriot-Watt University, and I'm here to tell you a little bit about becoming an actuary. So what I wanted to start off with a little bit today is why you might want to become an actuary, why that might be something you want to think about, what actuaries do, what is it that actuaries do in day-to-day work, how do you go about becoming an actuary, what are the routes there, and how does Heriot-Watt fit into that picture? So it's not the only option. We're going to talk about a few different possibilities, a few different routes to becoming an actuary, but I want to spend a little bit of time thinking about how Heriot-Watt fits into that picture. After we've talked like that a little bit, you'll be ready for a break from my voice. So I'll pass you over to Mrunal and Abhishek, two of our current MSc students here, who are going to tell you a little bit about their experience, a bit of what they've been doing for the last few months, last 9 months or so with us. Then back to me again for maybe 10 minutes to finish off on a little bit about how our MSc programs work in practice, about what careers might look like, future destinations, how careers fit into our MSc programs, and a little bit about our Edinburgh campus as well, because it's lovely and bright and sunny here this morning. As Gareth said, it's April, so if you're watching this in November, sorry, it might not be so bright and sunny anymore, but anyway. So why might you want to become an actuary? So some reasons perhaps is because you like maths, perhaps you're good at maths, in which case you'll both be good at what you're doing and you'll enjoy what you're doing. It's relatively well paid as a career, so that might be something that incentivizes you. I'll say more about that in just a minute or two as well. You might want to become a professional. Okay, so professional actuary, we'll say more about that in a minute as well. And you might want to be able to work anywhere in the world. Whoops, sorry, wrong way. So maybe you're good at maths, you have some background, maybe in maths or statistics, maybe you've done some physics or some economics or some accountancy, something mathematical, and you like that technical rigor, you like that mathematical content, and you want to take that further. You've done well at that. You've enjoyed what you've done. You're good at what you've done. You want to be well paid for doing that kind of thing. We'll say more about that in a minute. So you want to be professional. So actuaries are a regulated profession. There's a professional body there in the UK and professional bodies elsewhere throughout the world. Like doctors and lawyers or accountants, it's a profession that has regulation, that has good standing in the community, in industry, has that regulatory aspect, has that aspect of knowing that you know what you're talking about. Okay, that you are an expert and a certified expert in that area. Math is a universal language, and so whether you qualify in the UK or whether you qualify elsewhere, you can work mathematically with anyone anywhere in the world. So once you've got yourself an actuarial job, once you've got yourself a position somewhere, often with a company that has branches and offices throughout the world, you can then transfer within that company anywhere in the world, be doing the same kind of maths, but perhaps somewhere else get to see a little bit of somewhere a bit different to where you're used to. So well paid. So in the UK at least. So newly qualified actuary, you're looking at sort of somewhere around £70,000 a year. That in the UK typically, that'll vary a little bit depending on region, but it's typical sort of salary. There's some numbers at the bottom that you can use to convert that into your local currency from wherever you are. And then a few years after that, the salaries there are only increasing, and you'll soon be certainly better paid than an associate professor in actuarial maths at Heriot-Watt, or anywhere else in the UK. I'll tell you that for free. Um, so, what are actuaries? What are you actually doing? Okay, so you like maths, you're good at maths, you want to take that further. What are you actually doing with that day to day? Well, actuaries are experts in insurance, typically experts in data science. Professionals, well, we said a little bit about that already. We'll say a bit more in a minute. And work in many different areas of finance. Let's dig into that a little bit more and find out what actuaries are doing day to day. So insurance is a huge area in which actuaries work. Insurance is ubiquitous throughout all of our lives. We all have some kind of insurance. We're aware of some kind of insurance. Whether that's insurance that we've taken out against loss or damage to our mobile phones, whether it's um, insurance that we've taken out for damage to our homes or the contents of our homes. We all have insurance policies. We're aware people have insurance policies that protect us as individuals against risk. Um, Companies, firms also take out insurance policies to mitigate against, say, cyber risk, something like that. There's many well publicized examples of cyber attacks over the last few months and years, and companies want to make sure that they're insured against those kinds of risks. The risk that a hacker gets in and takes down your entire cyber system. Actuaries are the people behind the scenes who are working out how does this work in practice? What are the premiums that have to be charged? What are the expected rates of claims and things like that? How much are we expecting claims to be? How do we predict future claims? How do we understand how to balance those two things? The income that a company is getting through premiums, the outgoings through claims. How do we balance those two things to make sure that the company's making a profit, but also that those premiums that we're charging are fair, that they're competitive, that what we're doing is reasonable. Insurance works because we expect that within a big population, there will be a certain number of claims each year. But for any one person, that's relatively rare. So it's relatively rare to have an event that will cause some kind of claim, some kind of loss on your mobile phone or accident in your home or whatever. So it works because lots of people are willing to pay a small amount of money to insure themselves against those potentially big losses. So how do we work out exactly what the probability of those different events is? How do we work out what the kind of what's the fair premium to charge? Well, we need to do that based on data that we've got. So actuaries have to be experts in data and in using the data that we've got. There's always more and more data that we're gathering in the world. The picture of what data that we have relevant to insurance and relevant to other areas of actuarial work, it's always changing. It's always evolving. There's more and more data. There's more and more quality of data. There's more and more data arriving. Whether that's from sort of thinking about maybe health and fitness from a sort of maybe life insurance or health insurance point of view, there's more and more health data that we can get about people. There's more and more fine data about what people are doing with their lives. We can monitor people's health more and more accurately. What do we do with that? How do we use that data? What tools do we use with that data to be able to make better predictions, understand better how the world is working and how we need to operate as a company? So there's some professional regulation there to make sure that what we're doing with that data to make sure that the framework within which we're working is fair. It's within the regulation that the government has set up that we're operating professionally and fairly. Those sorts of questions: how to understand risk, how to mitigate against risk, how to operate a company profitably that's essentially using this risk and helping people to navigate these risks in day-to-day life. Those are the sorts of questions that are really prevalent throughout many areas of finance and everyone's day-to-day lives. So whether that's insurance, as we talked about a little bit, whether that's pensions, so everyone here is or soon will be paying into a pension. Lots of governments will pay out pensions when we hit retirement age. how do we understand the contributions that the working population has to make in order to make that financially sustainable for our retired population? How do we understand those kinds of risks? That's all. That's all involves data on how long people are going to live on those sorts of questions. So pensions really a hugely important area. Banking, lots of financial risk there. Investment, risk control generally. Lots and lots of areas where these kinds of questions are really, really important. And actuaries are the ones who are answering these kind of questions, who have the right mathematical tools to be able to answer these kind of questions, deal with these kinds of problems and these situations, figure out how this has to work, both for the consumer and for the company. So here's a little illustrative example, just to dig into a little bit more detail. Here's a mouse. So we're thinking from the mouse's point of view here. The mouse wants to get the cheese, but the cheese is on a loaded onto a mouse trap. So what's the bad thing that could happen is the mouse trap goes off and the mouse is injured or even killed. Good thing that happened, the mouse gets the cheese, gets away safely, feeds him or herself and his or her family perhaps with that cheese. How do we understand the probability, the risk of that bad thing happening? Well, maybe we've got some experience with mouse traps. Maybe this mouse has seen lots of mouse traps going off before, seen what other mice have done, how they've handled this, and can build some kind of mathematical model, some kind of understanding of the world, how this works. Maybe it's a very complicated mathematical model. We can use some computers to evaluate that data, to analyze that data, figure out what that model is telling us. So we understand the world, we understand the risks that are around us, how we use mathematical tools and or computers to be able to kind of model that risk, understand what the chances are of the bad thing happening, understand what can I do to change the odds. Okay, how do I change the chance of the bad thing happening? Maybe if I just nibble that cheese just very, very slowly or just very, very carefully at the corner, maybe that reduces the chance of the mousetrap going off. Maybe that reduces the chance of the bad thing happening, increases the chance of the good thing happening. And importantly, how do I change and affect the impact of that bad thing happening? So if the bad thing does happen, how do I stop that having the worst possible effect? Well, maybe that's what the crash helmet's for, because I haven't said anything about the crash helmet yet. So the little mouse is wearing his helmet to reduce the impact of the bad thing happening if it really does happen. And then what's the kind of cost that I'm willing to pay for that risk? Okay, so having taken those precautions, having reduced the impact of the bad thing happening, what's it worth me doing? Okay, what's the risk that I'm willing to take? And that's a very personal decision, right? That's something that is down to this mouse. It's down to that little mouse to decide how risky they want to be, how much they're willing to chance to get that cheese. Okay, so that's what an actuary is. An actuary is the mouse, I guess. An actuary is the one helping the mouse. Insurance and pensions and those kinds of areas. So how do we become an actuary? What are the routes to get there? Short answer is pass lots of exams. So there is that professional accreditation aspect to becoming an actuary. There is the membership of that professional body. So that's, of course, where all this fits in. Lots and lots of exams to get that qualification. So there's a slide here which I'm not really expecting you to be able to read all the text on. The text on the right-hand side is small in places, but what you can see is lots of coloured squares. So you can see lots and lots of coloured blocks there, some purple ones and some green ones, some orange ones and some red ones. And this represents the route to becoming a qualified actuary in the UK. So there are different professional bodies around the world. This is the route to becoming a qualified actuary in the UK with the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries. So that's the professional body within the UK, different professional bodies elsewhere in the world, but this is the professional body with which we work most closely. So we'll talk about their route to becoming a qualified actuary. So each one of these blocks represents an exam on your route to becoming a qualified actuary. So there are 7 purple exams there. So you have to pass all of those. Those 7 purple exams, the kind of actuarial mathematics exams, they're the core mathematics and statistics behind becoming an actuary. that that gives you the underlying mathematical tools that you need. So wherever you take your career, whether that's a more sort of mathematical modeling kind of role, kind of what's the word I want, kind of doing the problem solving insurance, whether that's long term problem solving or short term problem solving. These seven purple exams give you the mathematical toolkit that you need to be able to solve those problems, short term problems, long term problems. Then once you get a little bit further on into those green exams, there's three green exams. Um, what you're getting a little bit beyond the mathematics, and we're getting into the idea of having to explain the mathematics. Okay, so how do I take the mathematics that I understand, all this work that we've done with the mouse, building this mathematical model, understanding the risks, understanding the probabilities, understanding how to mitigate that risk. How do we actually communicate that? Okay, how does our mouse, who's understood all this, communicate that to his colony of mice, his family of mice? How do we communicate that to people who haven't spent a lot of time studying these mathematical tools? And that's what we're getting into then with those green exams. And that's an important part of an actuarial role as well. Actuaries don't work in isolation solving these mathematical problems. We're working as part of a team. We're working as part of a team who are in sales and marketing of the sort of products that we're helping to develop. A team that's developing new products. We have to be able to communicate within the team, both technically, both within other actuaries, and to managers, people in sales, and in other roles within the company who are helping to communicate what we're doing to the outside world, helping to sell the products that we're developing. And as actuaries, we can have roles that take in a variety of those kind of across that spectrum, whether we want to be a sort of technical problem solving role, short-term problem solving, long-term problem solving, product development, those kind of technical mathematical roles, whether we want to move into um, something more like sales, where we really are being the ones at the front end and taking the mathematics that's been developed, taking those mathematical problems that have been solved, and helping sell those to the consumer, helping the consumer see why what we developed is the right solution for them. So actuaries can work in a variety of roles, but it's important whatever role we're in that we're able to communicate that mathematics, that communicate those problems that we solved to the wider world, to a non-mathematical audience. And that's where we're going with those green exams. So there's three green exams that we have to pass on the route to becoming a qualified actuary with the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries here in the UK. Then we specialize even more. So once we get down to the orange and the red exams, then this is exactly where we're specializing in the type of topics that we're interested in. So you'll see that we're not passing all of those orange exams, we're passing two of those orange exams on our route to becoming an actuary. So we get to choose which two. So there are exams there in general insurance, or exams in life insurance, exams in pensions, all these kind of different areas where we're really drilling down into the areas that interest us, the areas that we want to specialize in. And then even further, we're drilling down, we're specializing when we get to those red exams. So there we're only taking one red exam. Those have similar titles to those orange ones as well. There's in some cases a very natural progression from some of these orange things into one of the red subjects. So all in all, that's I think 13 exams we have to pass. There's 7 purple, 3 green, 2 of the orange ones, and 1 of the red ones. That's 13 exams altogether. Plus, to become a fully qualified actuary, we need 2 years of work experience. Okay, so that's an important part of becoming a qualified actuary. Okay, so 13 exams, 2 years work experience. The headline is lots of exams. 7 perfect. Oh, done that already. Forgotten there were arrows on this slide. There we go. Lots and lots of different ways of passing those exams. And perhaps 2 kind of headline routes that I'll talk about in a minute, either through university or through work. But there's lots of flexibility there as well. Okay, so lots of opportunities to mix and match those two different routes to becoming an actuary. We've got to take those exams. That's not negotiable. We need to pass those 13 exams. We need to and get some work experience as well. We could take our undergraduate degree. We can go and get ourselves a job with an actuarial firm, insurance firm, consultancy, whatever, and we can be taking those exams alongside our work. That's absolutely fine. That's a route that lots of people take. It works very, very well for them. There are some advantages to that we'll talk about in just a minute as well. That takes about 5 to 7 years to be qualified. You can do that more at your own. You can do that at your own pace. So you're deciding at what point you're passing these exams. You perhaps want to get through this a little bit sooner. Typically, you get a little pay rise every time you pass these exams. So it's in your interest to pass these things sooner. And certainly, you can expect a bump in your pay once you're fully qualified. So that's definitely something we want to be doing. We can do that in work. Often, not universally, but often you'll get some study time allocated each week when you're in work. So that's one thing to check. If you're going for an actuarial job, then make sure you ask your employer, how much study time do I get? Do I get an afternoon, 2 afternoons, or a day a week, or something to study for my exams while I'm qualifying? Because that can be really, really valuable to have that time set aside. That can really, really help. Or if we want to do it a different way, we can do most of that in university. Okay, so we can there's one of the purple exams and the final red exam that we can't get at university, but everything else we can spend some time at university passing those exams, getting those qualifications. That's done a bit quicker. It's a bit quicker because we're spending all of our time for that bit of time of our lives working towards those qualifications. So we get that bit of a head start. We qualify a bit sooner. So again, some advantages and disadvantages there that we'll talk about in the next slide, but typically a bit quicker. That's 3 to 4 years to qualify, maybe a couple of years in university to pass most of those exams, and then a couple of years of work experience and passing those last couple of exams while you're working gets you to qualification within 3 to 4 years, depending where you are right now. We'll talk about different routes for depending where you are right now, depending what sort of exams you've already passed, what sort of background you have, in just a minute or two as well. As I said, lots of options to mix or match those two routes. We can spend a bit of time. We can get some of those initial exams done in university if we want to, and then go into work and do the high level ones. We can spend some time. Certainly, colleagues here in the department who went initially into work and then were sponsored by their employer took some time out of work in order to come and study with us in order to pass some of those later exams. So definitely lots of routes through this that you can make work for you. But essentially two main routes that you need to decide which path you're on at any point. So these two different routes, these two different options do have some advantages and disadvantages that it's worth you thinking about when you're figuring out what's right for you. So certainly if you're working, it means you're earning money right away, and that's definitely a big plus, absolutely. You also start in that work experience clock a little bit sooner. So remember, we need 2 years work experience, so we can get the clock ticking on that a little bit sooner if we start work a little bit sooner. Can be the case. So there can be support from your employer. When you're studying, you can have perhaps an afternoon, a couple of afternoons, or a day a week, and so that's something you want to make sure that you're investigating when you're looking at different jobs. But essentially, if you've got that time ring fenced, but you're essentially studying then independently towards those exams at your own pace, at your own rate. There's lots of online support that you can get. There's online tutorials, online resources that can help you with that. But you are essentially driving that yourself. You're the main motivator. It's very much a kind of independent, very much kind of independent study, independent guided study. So that can be a little bit kind of, I don't know, perhaps isolating at times, or you might not find that's the best environment for you to study in, and that's fine. You also can find sometimes, speaking to some of our alumni, that work does creep into that study time a little bit. So of course, work is always there, and there are things that you want to be working on that can sometimes creep into that study time a little bit. Though I'll say that later on. But one big advantage is that the workplace around you gives you a lot of context to what you're studying. So that when you're studying, you're not just studying the theory, but you really see how it's working in practice, in the operation day to day of the company. So lots and lots of context and motivation that you can get from that, and that can be a really, really good thing. On the other hand, if you're studying at university, as we said, faster qualification because you're dedicating your time for that year or two at university in order to plow through a lot of those exams, get a lot of that under your belt, and get that head start, and hopefully that higher rate of pay when you do start work. So that can be a really real advantage in terms of getting a boost to your career, getting things started, because we're concentrating only on the exams. There's no work to get in the way to creep into that study time. You've got that focused time really just to work on your exams, and so that can be really, really good. one important feature, so if you're thinking about going down the university route, one important thing you want to make sure that you get is one thing you want to make sure you're enrolled on is a program, a degree program, which is accredited overall. So not just that the individual courses might get you passing these actuarial exams, but the degree program overall is accredited by a professional body like the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries here in the UK. Um, if the program overall is accredited, then that means you can benefit from the safety net of the accreditation average, which means that in practice, so you're taking lots and lots of exams. If one of them doesn't go quite so well on the day, and that happens to all of us, been there, done that myself, we all know what that's like. One of them doesn't go quite so well on the day, but you do well enough in the others and well enough overall, kind of across these courses that contribute to these actuarial exams, then you benefit from that accreditation average. And even on the exam where you didn't do quite so well, you can still get the corresponding exam. You can still get the corresponding exemption from that IFOA course, one of those purple, green, or orange exams. So you can afford to have a bad day a little bit more. In the workplace, each exam is looked at separately. There's no kind of overall average or overall performance. So you have a bad day on one particular exam, and unfortunately, that will mean you'll end up having to retake that. Whereas there's a bit of a safety net here at university, which means that typically pass rates for these exams, for a variety of reasons, I think, including this because of this accreditation average, and including because of the time that you have um, to study in a more dedicated sort of way. Pass rates through university are often a little bit higher than for those people who are doing this kind of while working. So it can get you through a little bit quicker because the pass rates are higher, a little bit higher too, partially for these reasons. And as well, you're studying in real life with people like me in a classroom, not over Zoom like we are today, thankfully, but in a classroom. So I'll tell you a little bit more about the course that I teach in a little bit, but I teach one of the courses that contributes to one of those purple exams for many of our students. I have a class with about, I think, 55 people in this semester that we're just finishing. Fantastic. We get to be in a classroom. There's real interaction there. I really love the background that we have with the students. That they can make lectures really interactive because we have students with a whole variety of different backgrounds. And we talked about different ways of doing this. We talked about people coming either straight from their undergraduate degree. There are plenty of people in that fall in that category in the class that I've got. There are also people who have spent some time in industry and come in say to give their careers a bit of a boost. And they're great to have in lectures. Honestly, I really love having people with that kind of background in my class because they can bring that real world experience into the classroom. They bring an awful lot of questions and comments and insights from current practice into my classroom, and I love that. I think it's fantastic. It's a really great way to get discussions going in lectures and tutorials. The staff that we have, I guess we're talking about teachers here, staff that we have are a mixture of people like me with a slightly more academic background, people with a professional actuarial experience, several of my colleagues who've spent time in industry and then come into an academic role, into a teaching role, and they're in the classroom and bringing that industrial experience as well. That's fantastic. People also, some of these courses are taught by colleagues saying based in Edinburgh, the Edinburgh Business School here at Heriot-Watt. So we have sort of the accountancy and economics courses with slightly more with that sort of focus taught by colleagues in Edinburgh Business School. So real life people in a real world classroom, teachers with the relevant background, with the right background to teach those other advanced probability and statistics, to bring in that actual experience to accountancy, economics areas like that. So real great experience, I think. Okay, so if you decided that a university route is part of some or part of what you want to do, how does Heriot-Watt fit into all that? There are different routes depending on where you are in the actuarial qualification process. Okay, so you might have passed some of these exams already, in particular the purple ones, those ones that we started with that cover that core mathematics and statistics. You might have some of those purple exams, or you might not. Okay, so there are different routes depending on where you are. So if you haven't passed anything yet, if you're starting out, you're kind of start of your actuarial qualification journey, then there's the 1-year MSc Actuarial Science program will get you those purple exams. Okay, I'll get you 6 of those 7 purple exams if I really want to be precise. There's one purple exam that you can only do while working, but you can get those purple exams essentially out of the way with a 1-year MSc in Actuarial Science. Okay. Or there's a 2-year program of the MSc Actuarial Science in Management, which again takes you with no actuarial exams already. We cover the purple exams in the first year. So the first year, that 2-year program is very similar to the MSc Actuarial Science. Then the second year, we'll cover those green and orange exams later on, which leaves you then just a couple of exams and a bit of work experience away from qualification. So if you take that 2-year program, you get essentially 2 exams away from qualification. If you've already got some or all of those purple exams, for example, then what you might do is take the 1-year MSc Actuarial Management program, which gets you those green and orange exams. Okay, so they take you if you've already got that core mathematics and statistics as covered by those by some or all of those purple exams, for example. 1-year program that will get you that boost, take you through those green and orange stages of the actuarial qualification process. You don't necessarily have to have all those purple exams for this to be the right route for you. I'll say a little bit more about that in just a minute as well. There's also a very similar MSc Actuarial Management program with some courses in data science. So if that's something that you're interested in, and you don't have to be, that's all right if you're not, but if you are, then that can be something really, really important. So there are about 90 students altogether across these programs. So I say I teach about 55 of these students this year in the course that I'm taking, but about 90 students altogether. You won't typically see 90 students in any individual class because there's different classes depending on which degree program you're on. But some of the bigger kind of more core courses like mine, which is taken by almost all the MSc Actuarial Science students and a lot of the actuarial management students, or those in the 2-year program as well. So 55, 60 students in those bigger classes. The smaller classes, so that the 2 data science courses that go along with this MSc Actuarial Management with data science, they're taken by probably about 12, 15 people, something like that each year. So some bigger classes, some smaller classes, variety of sizes depending on what you're doing. Lots of options in there, so lots of choices to tailor what you're doing to what you want to do. So there's lots of choice within the orange exams. There's lots of choices in these degree programs to reflect that. And so depending which options you choose, you'll see bigger or smaller classes depending on how popular those options are, I guess. The data science is popular. It's increasingly popular, I think, and it's probably more and more important for the future of the profession, for the future of the industry. So it might be something that you want to think about if you are interested in that, if you like the kind of coding, the programming, that side of things. If you don't, that's fine. You also don't need to have decided that right now. You can make that choice even once you get here as to whether or not you want to take the data science variant of the MSc Actuarial Management. So just to go over what I've said again, just with some bullet points, I think a lot of this I've said already. So the MSc in Actuarial Science will take you if you haven't, or is right for you if you haven't got any of those exams, actuarial exams already. We cover 6 of those purple exams, CB1 and 2, CM1 and 2, and CS1 and 2. If you want the technical the details, you can go ahead and look at what they correspond to. The program is fully accredited with the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries, so you get exemptions from those IFOA exams. You benefit from this accreditation average, which means if things go wrong on one particular day, you can still get the overall exemptions as long as you get a high enough average over all those accredited courses, typically about 65%. Core probability and statistics is what's there in financial mathematics, including bits of R and Python, so lots of kind of computing data handling built into that degree program. The 1-year MSc Actuarial Management takes you through, if you've got some or all of those purple exams already, takes you through those green and orange stages, the more kind of maths, the more kind of explaining the maths exams. So take the maths that you already understand. How do we explain that? Okay. So that covers all 3 of those green exams, CP1, CP2, CP3, so it gets you through all of that green stage. You typically choose 3 of those orange subjects to take as optional courses. So that's why we have lots of choice, and you can choose the optional courses that you want to take. So typically, you'll take courses corresponding to 3 of those orange subjects, SP2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. You only actually need 2 of those orange subjects to qualify as an actuary. So you've got a little bit of a safety net there potentially as well. If you're taking 3, you actually only need to do well enough to get the qualification in 2 of them in order to become a qualified actuary. You also can have the option to replace one of those SP subjects either with the data science options if you're doing the data science variant, or with a chance to catch up on some of the earlier purple exams if you haven't got all of those. So if you have some purple exams but not all of them already, you can still certainly come into the MSc Actuarial Management. There's a chance to catch up on some of those. So you could catch up either on CB1 um, and CB2, the economics and accountancy type exams, or CM2, again more advanced financial maths, or CS2, the more advanced probability and statistics in those purple exams. So it's the CS2 course is the one that I teach, or one of the two CS2 courses is what I teach this semester. So I have all the MSc Actuarial Science students doing it, but I also have a number of MSc Actuarial Management students taking that course there to catch up on that CS2 exam that they didn't get first time round. Again, the MSc Actuarial Management, the whole program's accredited with the Institute of Faculty of Actuaries, so you benefit from that safety net of the accreditation average. We can go a little bit wrong, we can have a bad day, and it doesn't necessarily affect us too much. Accreditation average there is about 60%, so a little bit lower than the MSc Actuarial Science. There's also the SP9 subject, one of the orange options gets you this zero qualification. Just certainly a reason lots of people can choose to come here is because of this additional qualification, the Chartered Enterprise Risk Actuary qualification, that can be really useful. Okay, like we said, the MSc in MSc Actuarial Management with the data science option replaces one of those SP subjects with the two data science options. So that's increasingly popular, I think. Currently 12, 15 students a year, something like that. The summer on any of these MSc programs, so you'll spend your final summer after you've done your taught courses doing 2 5-week case studies typically. So you have some options there, the choice of at least 2 for each of these 2 5-week case studies. What you're producing at the end of these is about a report of about 15 pages for each, so 5 weeks to produce a 15-page report on a particular topic from which you have a choice. That's really useful, I think, as a skill to master. 15 pages is a good length of report in terms of what you'll need to do in industry if you're going to write something to your manager to convince them of a point, to sell what you've made, sell the product you've developed. 15 pages is a good length of writing. So it's designed that way. It's really designed to prepare you for writing reports in business. You can, if you want to, apply instead to do instead of 2 5-week case studies, do 1 10-week industrial dissertation. So that's a single project for the whole summer. So we advertise those on behalf of companies. Companies get in touch with us. They tell us what projects they've got. We have good relationships with several companies who offer these things every year. So they will offer a number of projects that we'll advertise to you. You then apply for these projects. It's then up to the company to decide who they want to take on those particular projects. So it's a competitive process. So it can look really good if you get one of those, if it's something that you're interested in, if that's what you'd like to do. You then, of course, have a single 10-week dissertation instead of 2 5-week case studies. So in some sense, you're putting all your eggs in one basket. So there's a bit of a risk there in that sense, but that's okay because actuaries are trained to understand risk. So we'll happily leave that decision to you. One final thing before I pass over to our couple of students, to Mrunal and Abhishek. Let me say a little bit about scholarships and discounts. So if you are wanting to come in and without any of those purple exams already, without an actuarial background, and want to go as far as you possibly can in university, then it makes sense to do this 2-year MSc Actuarial Science and Management. So that is more or less the 1-year actuarial science program followed by the 1-year actuarial management program. But as a 2-year program, it's cheaper to do it. It's cheaper to save you money to do a 2-year program rather than 2 1-year programs. And you also, the summer in the middle, you don't have to, you get free. You don't do case studies then. So it's cheaper and a little bit quicker in terms of the amount of time you spend studying to do the 2-year program rather than 2 1-year programs. There is the Heriot-Watt Actuarial Award for Academic Excellence. So that represents a 20% discount on fees. That's as you apply, you're assessed automatically for that. So that is something that you don't apply for separately. everyone is assessed automatically for that based on previous academic performance, based on where you are in terms of the qualification process, some previous actuarial exams passed, possibly based on work experience, things like that. Those are that's assessed automatically with the application. So as soon as you get your offer, if that's something that you're entitled to, then that will be part of your offer. So you'll know that straight up. So there's no waiting around separate applications for this kind of thing. There's also a alumni fee scholarship that gets you, and again, a 20% discount on fees for MSc programs for previous Heriot-Watt graduates. So if you are a Heriot-Watt graduate, then you can benefit from that. You've listened to me for very much long enough, so it's definitely time that I pass over to more interesting people. So I'm going to pass over to Mrunal, who will tell us a little bit about her experience at Heriot-Watt.
Thank you, Fraser. Hi, everyone. I am Mrunal Ramanna. I am currently pursuing Masters in Actuarial Management at Heriot-Watt University as a part of the 25-26 batch. Can we go ahead? Or should I be sharing my screen? Thanks. So I want to start by telling you why I actually chose this master's program at Heriot-Watt. So when I was exploring my options, Heriot-Watt stood out quite early on. One of the main reasons was definitely its strong reputation for actuarial education in the UK. So it's a university that's well known in its field, and so that basically gave me that confidence for this program. At the same time, I wanted something that aligned clearly with my professional goals. Like as Fraser said, the course is very closely structured around the IFO exam requirements and the way the syllabus is designed for you to get maximum exemptions. So another thing that actually stood out was their approach to learning. It is not only focused on memorization, but actually understanding concepts which become very important, not only while applying in your exams, but also in the industry. Alongside all of this, again, Edinburgh itself made the decision quite easier. It's a very peaceful city, great for focusing, and also a major hub for actuarial opportunities. Can we move on to the next slide? So let's talk about what's actually like studying here and settling in academically. So once I started the course, the biggest change I noticed was how I used to learn earlier back in India. Classes here are much more interactive and discussion based. So you are expected to actively engage, right? So the course structure helps a lot with this transition. Each week is clearly planned with lectures and tutorials that are built on each other. So it's quite manageable for you to stay consistent. Um, at the end of the day, you're also assigned a personal tutor, which is really helpful, especially in the beginning, obviously, also towards the end. Another useful feature is the consolidation week. So it basically gives you time to catch up, relax, revise before you move ahead with the rest of the course or the rest of the semester. Um, Even like the whole assessment of the course is much more balanced. Since about 20% depends on your coursework, it definitely reduces the pressure of your final examinations. The next slide, please. Now, in terms of like student life and settling in, before I move on to networking and career support, studying is just one of the part of the experiences. So moving to a new country can feel challenging at first, but settling into Edinburgh has been quite smooth. Like it's a very student friendly city. It's very safe. It's well connected, and over time you get comfortable in terms of like in both academically and daily in your day to day life. At university, you're surrounded with people from different backgrounds, not just from this course, but all other courses that Heriot-Watt offers, which makes the experience so much more diverse and enjoyable. Another thing that I'd like to mention is this networking and career support. Um, so the university puts a lot of strong focus on helping students prepare for the industry. So there are regular employer talks, career fairs, and networking events where you can go and interact with professionals. Heriot-Watt especially has, like Fraser said, has strong links with actuarial firms and consultancies. So which help you understand what companies are actually looking for. So other than that, you can also get support with your CVs, your application, and your interview process. So through something called the Watt Club, you can connect with the alumni and gain insights about their experiences. So overall, my experience at Heriot-Watt has been a combination of strong academics, a lot of practical exposure, and a supportive environment, definitely. It does take some adjustment in the beginning, but like once you settle in, the structure and the support system like really helps you to grow. And yeah, thank you so much. If you have any questions for me, you can always message me on my LinkedIn. Thank you.
Okay, so I will take it from here. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Abhishek and I'm currently on the Masters in Actuarial Management program along with Mrunal. So I have moved here from India, and honestly, this has been one of the best decisions of my actuarial career so far. Before coming here, so can we go to the next slide, please? Yeah. So before coming here, I was already done with all of my core statistics, core mathematics, and core business papers. So I already had quite a head start when I was here. In my current year, I have taken four SP subjects, primarily SP2, SP7, 8, and SP9, which are the general insurance pricing, general insurance reserving, life insurance, and enterprise risk management paper, along with the CP1, 2, and 3. So what this actually means is once I'm done with my masters, I will only have one paper left, and that's actually quite a lot. That's how much this course like fast tracks you. And from an employer's perspective, hiring someone this close to qualification saves them a lot on study support and also all the reimbursements that they have to give you as a potential employee, and it genuinely works in your favor. One thing that is completely unique to Heriot-Watt is that it is the only university that offers a SERA qualification along with SP9. So all the other universities that currently offer like masters and actual programs do not get this benefits which Heriot-Watt does, which is completely a great thing. And that's like enterprise risk management, or SERA, is a globally recognized risk management credential, and it's right here within your reach if you are able to clear SP9. About exemptions, as Fraser had already mentioned, so there are two routes. One is the individual exemption routes, where you have to get individual accreditation in every subject, and the marks are set by IFOA based on the average marks of the cohort and how difficult the paper was. But another way that Heriot-Watt provides is the block exemption, which like if you get 60% average in all the subjects that you have enrolled to within the block, so you get an exemption in all of them. That's it. Like, so the teaching itself is really great. There are at least like 4 hours of lectures and tutorials every week. So you get a lot of interaction with the teachers. And as Mrunal mentioned, it's really very interactive. It's not just like memorization. You come, you discuss ideas, concepts, and it's more real than what we learn at college level or something. It feels like we are more connected with the professors in the master's level, and we are more likely at the same level with them, so that feels slightly different. And throughout the year you hear a lot from actual industry professionals. There are a lots of webinars, seminars conducted on what's actually going on in the industry, which really helps you get online with like what's actually happening out there outside the study life, and they are really worth attending. Can we go to the next slide? Thank you. So now Edinburgh, this city is just something else. It's really so beautiful. It's historic and very student friendly. So one fun fact, Edinburgh hosts one of the world's largest art festival every year, which is called Edinburgh Fringe, and it has more listed buildings per square mile than anywhere else in the UK. For someone who wants to build an actuarial career, studying in a city with such a strong financial heritage just adds to the whole experience. Plus, the Heriot-Watt campus is just so beautiful. Everything is at walking distance. Like hardly a minute afar, I have like GP, I have student union, I have the bus stop, I have gym, I have all lecture halls around me. Plus, there is a beautiful lake and lawns. The gym is not gym. The library is open 24/7. There are open routes like grid and all where you can sit and walk with friends. So it's just very accessible throughout the year. Can we go to the next slide? Yeah, and just pulling it all together, the degree itself opens real doors for you. UK Masters in Actuarial Management is recognized globally, whether you want to work in Europe, Asia, or the Middle East. Being this close to qualification straight out of the program makes a real difference on your CV. But beyond the career side, it's being personally rewarding to me as well. Throughout the year, since I am here for past 7 months now, I have traveled all across Scotland on weekends, made friends all over the world, and also grown in ways I hadn't expected to when I had originally arrived here. So if you are looking to qualify faster, get solid academic exposure, and also and have a great experience while doing it, I believe you should genuinely do this course. Heriot-Watt is the right place to it. So make the most while you are here. And thank you. I would like to pass on to Fraser again.
Thank you very much, Mrunal and Abhishek. That was really, really great comments. I'm going to wrap up just a little bit for maybe 5 or 10 minutes. Some of what's in my slides now overlaps a little bit with what Mrunal and Abhishek were saying, so let me skip over bits that are too close to what we've done already. Oops. Perhaps if I can, there we go. Yeah, so as I said, teaching is real life. Typically for each course, about 4 hours contact week, four contact hours per week rather, in combination of lectures and tutorials, accreditation averages, because our programs are accredited with the Institute of Faculty of Actuaries, exams, in-person closed book, 2 or 3 hours each. Most courses have some kind of coursework component, so that's often worth about 20%, a little bit more in some courses where it's maybe a bit more computer data sciencey type work, in particular on the actuarial management with data science. There's courses there are more like sort of 50% coursework, this kind of thing. We talked a lot about the UK's Institute and Faculty of Actuaries and their accreditation of what we do. Let me mention briefly also the North American Society of Actuaries, who've awarded us this badge of excellence, this Centre of Actuarial Excellence accreditation, based on the whole range of activities that we do, from our undergraduate teaching, our postgraduate teaching, our PhD supervision, our research activities. Based on what we're doing, on what our students tell us, and what they're seeing, they've awarded us this badge of excellence, which I think is a really great reassurance that of the quality of education that we're providing. Where do we go afterwards? We've mentioned a little bit of some of this already, but career preparation really is inbuilt into everything that we're doing. It's not some separate thing that's sort of attached to your degree. It's really part of your degree. As Mrunal and Abhishek were saying, lots of opportunities to hear from people in industry, to attend industry events, to be involved in things from the Heriot-Watt Students Actuarial Society, from from FAS, the Faculty of Actuary Student Society, events that they run, events that the I4A are running. The career service comes alongside that as well. So Heriot-Watt Career Service will be able to help you with things like preparing for interviews and writing CVs, filling in application forms, things like this. So there's lots of kind of particular career focus in the university and in the wider degree program with an actuarial focus. And that's good for us because our aim and what we do is train students to perform well in business, which means that businesses like Heriot-Watt graduates, which means that they want Heriot-Watt graduates, which incentivizes us to be able to help you to perform well in business. There's this nice sort of virtuous cycle that's helping us and our graduates. Screenshot there on a couple of screenshots from the career service website, just to give you an idea of what they can do in addition to the careers focus that's in our degrees, with the actuarial events and speakers and webinars and things like this. Lots of opportunities to meet with people in the career service, to help with CVs, interviews, discuss career development. Lots of webinars and other events that they run that can really help you develop your career. Alumni that we have include, for example, CEOs, past presidents of professional actuarial organizations, members of boards and partners, all these kinds of whole range of people who've done very, very well in a range of different professions, a range of different industries, following on from one of our actuarial degrees. A couple of our recent graduates, LinkedIn post from our recent graduates who've gone to Hyman's, Robertson and Jen Ray. About 90% of our graduates are employed within 6 months. It's a really, really excellent rate of employment. Something like half maybe in insurance companies, a little bit under half. little bit under half again in kind of actuarial consultancies. So people who are providing consultancy for insurance companies, for actuarial companies, and 10% elsewhere, including, for example, in the regulator. So yeah, generating home insurance. And so where are some of our graduates going? Places like Legal & General, Aviva, life insurance companies, KPMG, consultancies, Bank of England's there as the regulator, Moody's, the credit rating agency. So a kind of range of different kind of focuses within that actuarial world, where our graduates end up. Abhishek mentioned Edinburgh already. So our university is a campus university, so situated a little bit outside of Edinburgh, but with very, very good bus connections into the city centre. So buses leaving the campus really every few minutes, with about a half-hour journey time into Edinburgh. So really easy to get to and from the city centre. But you can stay on campus, and there's a lot of what you need is on campus. So, a doctor and dentist, things like this, some shops, things like that. Gym is here on campus as well, but into Edinburgh, where we have all these, it's really, really beautiful city centre. Fantastic to walk around, so not big like London, but Edinburgh is a very walkable city, and you can see a lot while you're walking around Edinburgh. But more than that, it's also the financial capital of Scotland. Scotland's within the UK. Edinburgh is also very well attached by road and by rail to London, which is the financial capital of the UK. So lots of connections within Edinburgh, financial connections within Edinburgh that we have, that you will have. You'll often be looking at jobs in and around Edinburgh, but also close connections with transport connections with London, where you might be looking to work as well, and which makes it also easy to travel during your time with us. You should absolutely take advantage of seeing Scotland, seeing the UK, and Europe more widely. While you're over in this part of the world, it's fantastic. Lots of things that you to see and do in Edinburgh, festivals and sporting events and things like this. Let me wrap up 1 more minute. So depending where you are on your actuarial qualification journey, depending what your background is, we've got a range of different MSc programs to suit you. Price reductions based on the academic excellence scholarship or alumni discounts, doing 2-year program rather than a 1-year program. Career development is absolutely the focus of our programs, on the academic side, on the career service side as well. I didn't say already, but we have been doing this for a long time. We were the first place in the UK to offer actuarial degree programs, and we've been doing this for a long, long time now. We had our golden anniversary, our 50-year anniversary a few years ago. So we're experienced at what we do. We like what we do. We're good at what we do. If data science is something that you're interested in, if you're interested in programming and coding, we have the option of the MSc Actuarial Management with Data Science. There's the CIRA qualification, and goes along with the SB9 subject. And Edinburgh is a fantastic place to live and to study. So we're very much look forward to hearing from you and seeing you here. These slides can be shared later on, so there's some links there to various bits of information that we've covered here. But we'll share these slides later on. Happy to take questions, but in the meantime, thank you very much for your contributions.
Fraser, thank you for your time. I really appreciate that. And to the 2 students also. Fraser, I'm conscious of time, but if we can just pop your camera back on, we're just going to spend 10 minutes just answering some questions, if that's okay. We would normally wrap things up about now, but I think we've had 46 different questions come in, so I'm going to try and paraphrase these as much as possible. And forgive me, I know you've answered probably quite a few of these already. But can we start with, can I work with this kind of degree in any country? So does it matter where I take this post-graduation? Can I take it back to India? Can I take it to Australia? Can I take it to the Middle East? Does it matter?
Short answer: it doesn't matter. So this actuarial training that you get is universal in the sense that maths is the same language across the world, and communicating that maths is the same language across the world. So the background that you have is absolutely portable. You might decide to, if you get a job within a company in the UK, and transfer within that same company outside the UK, somewhere else in the world. If you want to live and work somewhere else in the world, that IFOA qualification, being qualified actuary with the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries, is something that's internationally portable, and you can turn into into qualification with other actuarial bodies across the world. And in particular, so North America, for example, the Society of Actuaries that gave us this Centre of Actuarial Excellence badge, that gives us some kind of the word I'm looking for, kind of opportunity to gain qualifications with them based on the I4A qualifications that we have. Australia, for example, very much recognises the Institute of Faculty of Actuaries qualification, other places as well. So yeah, very, very portable, absolutely.
Superb. Okay. All those students that have asked questions about funding and scholarships, I think if you do have specific questions about that, please follow up with us directly, webinars@postgradsolutions.com. Alternatively, reach out to the team at Heriot-Watt directly. We will share your details with them. So please ask any questions related to that. We are short on time, so we will try and keep to the more academia side of things, if you like. So, Fraser, one of the questions are exemptions on IFO exams automatic or require a certain pass mark to get the F equals to get examinations? So I think what they're getting at there is it automatically put in place, or is there anything that they need to do?
So so there are certain courses on the degree that are associated with each of those I4A subjects. And then if you pass, if you get a good enough mark in that course, and then you will get the corresponding exemption automatically then. So you'll get a letter at the end of your degree that says this student has passed this course, and this course, this course, this course. That goes to the I4A then award those exemptions. So if you do well enough in the courses that go along with the I4A subject, you then get that exemption letter you can take along to the I4A and get awarded that exemption.
Cool. If a student doesn't have a mathematics background, do you offer a bridging course beforehand to help them get to that stage?
So it depends what you mean by mathematics. So if you have a background in anything sort of mathematics adjacent, so then things like engineering, physics, economics, accountancy, and anything like that sort of numerate subject, but not necessarily what you'd think of as mathematics, then absolutely the MSc Actuarial Science is for you. Or the 2-year program, the MSc Actuarial Science and Management, that takes people with all those backgrounds every year. It's one of the things that makes teaching classes on that program so fun, is that. There's such a variety of experience. I'm teaching people who are asking me questions from an economics background or from a physics background or from a more maths background. It really brings together quite a melting pot of maths adjacent people there. And so absolutely no problem at all. If you're coming from a sort of more kind of less mathematical background, a more sort of arts, social science background, then there isn't a program that perhaps is ready to take you directly. But if you can pick up some kind of mathematical background along the way, then absolutely we could look at you. We'd be very happy to have you at that point.
Okay, and 2 in 1 questions here to just skip through quickly. What software can I expect to use? I know we heard mostly earlier about how it's an introduction to Python. And is this mostly exam based? If you can answer both of those in one, if you can.
Certainly can. So software, so Excel, of course, is ubiquitous, but there's also R and Python for sure. So the course that I teach uses R, for example. The data science courses will use Python. So lots of stuff that you can do there. Exams are still a huge proportion of the assessment, but there's project work, coursework that goes along with most courses, typically 20%, sometimes a bit more. My course is 30%, for example. That's a project that involves taking away some data. We're going to analyze it using R. We're going to draw some conclusions on data, a bit of time series analysis, machine learning, that sort of thing. Data science courses are maybe more like 50% coursework. So exams everywhere, but lots of coursework using Excel, R, Python.
Okay, good question here. I think you mentioned this. 90 people, roughly 90 people in a class for actuarial science is quite a big class. How were they made to be feel? How will they be made to feel it, and how will they be kind of welcomed? How will they be given that personal aspect with quite a large class?
Good question. So 90 is the number of students across all of our MSc actuarial programs. So you typically won't have a course with quite that many in. The biggest classes will be about 60, say, depending exactly how admissions goes, of course. But biggest class will be something more like 60 for some of the core courses taken by lots of our students. The optional courses in data science or the SP subjects, for example, they're much smaller because there's lots of options that people choose from. So there's a lot more spread out, so much smaller classes. Course that I teach, I'd say somewhere in the middle, maybe 55 at the moment. But definitely that's all in one classroom, and the teaching is meant to be interactive, meant to be engaging. We definitely have there are more traditional lectures, which perhaps depending on the style of the lecturer can be about more transmission of information, but certainly tutorials are very interactive in the class itself. So I very much encourage discussion in my tutorials and in my lectures as well. As I said, I appreciate people who have a bit of industrial experience because they often bring that to the discussion, and that can make a really interesting kind of session. So definitely, I know the students I'm teaching. We fit in one relatively small classroom. I recognize faces. I know who they are. I will chat to people. It's really interactive and engaging teaching, I think. But also there is, as you say, that personal aspect. So every student will have a personal tutor when they arrive at the university. And so that's someone that they will meet typically about 3 times a semester. So they'll get to know that academic individually. That's not an academic associated with a particular course. That's someone that is your essentially point of contact with the university. So if you have questions about processes, about how does it work? I'm ill. What do I do about this? I'm ill, so I've missed this coursework deadline. How do I go back to the university about this? Which bit of the university can help me with careers? Which bit of the university can help me with financial planning? Things like that. Those kinds of questions. The personal tutor is the person that you can bring that to. So you meet them literally the first week that you're here. So that's someone who will know you from the beginning of your studies, and you'll be in contact with. You'll be able to get in touch with them, and they can help you with all those kinds of questions. There's definitely, as you say, a personal element is really important.
Yeah, and also I'd imagine it's just as much from them as well. Also, if you mentioned already, most of them by face, by name, they want to get to know you a bit better. That could be on them as well, couldn't it? So
Yeah,
please don't
absolutely.
pass that responsibility if you are a student. Please make sure you use that opportunity to pick the brains of Fraser and the other members of staff. So please do communicate. You showed the 4 programs earlier on, Fraser, data science, actuarial science, one of them. I can't remember the other 2 off the top of my head. One student has asked, which one would you recommend? I know a lot of it is based upon their experience and their education, but can they kind of apply for an overarching kind of actuarial science program and then kind of choose that discipline nearer the time, or is it they have to decide up front what they want to do?
So it will depend a bit on the background of the student as to whether the sort of actuarial science route or the actual management route is right, and that's something that we can help with. So if you get in touch with us, we can help you to decide whether kind of which of essentially those two routes is right, and then there are some options within that route, as you said, to give those 4 programs altogether. So if you haven't got such a strong actuarial background, if you're coming from economics or from physics or from something like this, then that sort of actuarial science route to get those purple exams to start with is the right one for you. That might be a 1-year actuarial science program. It might be a 2-year actuarial science and management program. Lots of flexibility there. At any point in that 1-year actuarial science program, you can decide to switch programs to the 2-year version, or at any point in the first year of your 2-year program, you can switch to the 1-year actuarial science program. So lots of flexibility there. If you've got a bit more actuarial experience already, you've got those purple exams under your belt, you want to get those later exams, you want the kind of actuarial management route. Again, there's the 2 programs. There's the kind of actuarial management with data science. Up to the first couple of weeks after you register, so after you enroll, after you start classes, you can decide which of those 2 programs you want to be on. So you've got a couple of weeks to go to whatever lectures you want to, decide on optional courses, decide whether you want to take the data science version. So lots of flexibility in those first couple of weeks after you arrive to figure out which is the right route for you. We're absolutely as flexible as we can be. We can help decide on the right background, whether you're a kind of actuarial science or an actuarial management student, whether your background is a right fit for one of those 2 things. Then once you get here, yeah, we can certainly work out optional courses, data science, 1-year program, 2-year program, things like that to fit you. And you've got some time, as much time as we can sensibly allow for you to be able to do that.
And just one final question as well, so we can wrap up, so we can let the students that have stayed on all this time to be on their way. Someone's asked, is it possible to do a part-time job during these studies? Is that essential, would you say? Or, I mean, obviously, students that are master's level are typically going to be a little bit older than your stereotypical undergrad student. So, obviously, they need to kind of earn a living a little bit. Is that possible with this program?
It's certainly something that we see every year. Yeah, finances, the way student finances are going, then more and more students are working part time during the degree. There's obviously visa restrictions, which I'm not going to get into because I don't understand them entirely
Yeah, yeah.
on what everyone can do. But yeah, certainly a part-time job to give a bit of cash in hand is something that more and more students are doing every year for sure.
And one final question, what's the structure of the classes? So presumably September start date. If they miss the application, because believe it or not, it's not a million miles away now. If they were to miss that application start date, do they move on to the following September, or are there alternative start dates such as January or March?
So September start date, yeah, as you say, every year. So everyone's arriving as a cohort. We're going through the program together. September start date, early September. So aiming for applications, I guess, by the end of July, something like that. Yeah, September start date, early September, a welcome week towards the start of September, then classes start the week after, two 12-week semesters, and then the summer, another kind of 10 weeks in the summer. And don't tell me September's not too far away. It's just coming into the summer. We're just finishing up teaching for 1 year. I'm looking forward to
I know.
3 months of summer.
Fraser, we were chatting to students back in November at Heriot-Watt also, and we said we were talking about the end of term for them, and it's soon approaching. It's insane. It's time flies, but it does give you an impression, though, a good impression for those students that are watching, just how quickly time goes. Obviously, you will be doing your studies. Obviously, it's a big investment. It's a big responsibility as well. You may be coming from another country, but it's important to know all the facts and to get everything in place before you leave. So communication is key. So have a discussion with Fraser, have a discussion with the team at Heriot-Watt. Please communicate with them because ultimately they want you at the university if you are the right fit. So if you're not sure if you are the right fit, you won't know until you communicate. So Fraser, thank you for your time. Really appreciate that. There's loads more questions, but I've just had a look. They're very admissionsy and very kind of samey what we've already answered. So if the questions haven't been answered, students, we will reach out to you. We have your details. We will answer them as much as possible. And the team at Heriot-Watt will be in touch to say hi and thank you for watching the webinar. But for now, Fraser, to the two students in the background, thank you for your time. We look forward to seeing you again soon. And remember, if you want to apply, head over to the Heriot-Watt website now and look for September start dates for actuarial science. Fraser, thank you very much. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye now.